Hello everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the 12 Days of Death. Are you all ready to talk some more death battle? Great, let me just get changed first and we will begin.
Your sword smells of blood.
So does yours.
Fight!
Huh, you jump good.
Oh, thank you?
Well, this is going to be one for the books, because for once, we are finally going to talk about a death battle that is not complete and utter dog shit. Now, I know, shocking, right? I don't think we've done something like this since Darkseid versus Thanos. I think that's the last time we ever talked about a death battle that was actually good. Like, none of this, it's either complete dog shit, it's boring, or it's just painfully average. This is actually really well made, and I'm disappointed I didn't get to talk about this fight a lot sooner, especially when it first came out. Which is disappointing, because this actually is very good, and what's interesting is, I think of all the death battles I've seen, this is one of those death battles where there isn't really much division. Like, when you look at the comments along with the likes and dislikes, there's not a vast disparity. Like, usually when you go into a lot of these death battles, like, there will definitely be a big amount of likes and a big amount of dislikes, and people in the comment section just absolutely ripping each other apart at who should have actually won. You don't really get that with this, and it shows because this is actually really good. And I'll start with the fight, which is definitely the highlight, because this is why I constantly get on Death Battle about custom animation, because if you see, when Death Battle does their own animation instead of just doing sprite bullshit, it looks good, like damn good. I love how stylized it is, and the gore is pretty incredible, and they have a lot more control over what they're able to do than they are with sprite sheets or even 3D models, which can somewhat be limited if you don't have really good expert 3D animators that know what they're doing. And as we talked about yesterday, sometimes 3D animation can be very stiff and clunky if it's not done right. But none of that is an issue here. And this right here, whenever you wonder why I always get on Death Battle about custom animation, because I know some people really don't think that it matters, well, I would encourage you to watch this Death Battle, and then you'll see what I'm talking about and why I'm so sick and goddamn tired of them using sprite animation. So that is a very good sign. Now, if Death Battle would do a lot more stuff like this, I would be a lot less harsh on them. The music, the dialogue, the animation, it's all great. And I love that this is one of those times where Death Battle can actually have some style to their animation, which definitely does add to the aesthetic and to the fight. And the analysis for the most part is good. From what I remember about this fight, the only big problem I remember people talking about was how Jack apparently had a significant speed advantage over Afro Samurai, and some people did think that this vast speed disparity between the two made this a spite fight or something like that. I don't really agree, because while it is true that apparently one has light speed and the other doesn't, here's the thing. One stat disparity doesn't automatically equal a one-shot or spite. What would is if Jack had the advantage in literally every single category. Strength, speed, endurance, swordsmanship, intelligence, all that. But from what I remember, these two characters are pretty evenly matched outside of speed, and that usually tends to happen in very close matchups like this. There will usually be that one tiny little trait or skill that does eventually turn the fight in that character's favor. And I think that's a lot better and a lot more entertaining than watching some character get his ass beat by someone that they clearly have no chance against. Cough cough, Deadpool versus Big Head. Now, see how much more entertaining Death Battle can be when they actually do a matchup that the people wanted to see that isn't dog shit, and they actually do their own animation. It can be really entertaining. And I love the matchup here because this is a matchup I absolutely agree with, and I was hoping that they would do. I'm so grateful that they didn't pull some bullshit of, let's have Samurai Jack fight Ichigo or something like that, because that would have been a disaster on so many levels. But they did get Jack an opponent that made a whole lot of sense. Afro Samurai was a pretty good opponent for Jack, and it shows. And they do a pretty good job representing these characters, and I like that the voice actors did their best to get the voices as close to the original as possible. Obviously, it's going to be pretty hard to find someone to do a very good Sam Jackson, but God bless them for at least trying. And I will be honest, it's actually very difficult for me to think of negatives with this episode. Right off the top of my head, one of the only negatives that does come to my mind is the advertising. Death Battle, for the love of fuck, can you please just stop with all the obnoxious advertisements and sponsors? It's like, we get it, Death Battle. You have sponsors you need to satisfy, but can you be a little less obnoxious about it? Do we really need 2 to 3 reminders every single episode that you're sponsored by Blue Apron? Do you really need to dedicate a minute or two of the episode to advertising for your sponsors? Seriously, I can't stress enough how obnoxious it is when Death Battle does that. And I get that this has nothing to do with the episode itself, and you could argue that this is a pointless nitpick, and you would probably be right, but that actually just goes to show how good that this episode is, that one of the only things I could possibly think to complain about is what could be considered an extremely pointless nitpick. So, since it's very difficult for me to think of any legitimate negatives, I think I'll just get to the final score. I'm sorry if this episode feels a little bit more rushed and not really all that eventful, but truth be told, there's so much positive stuff about this death battle, it's genuinely tricky for me to try to think of anything to complain about or go into some kind of rant or something, because this is very well made, and this will probably make a someday future list of top 10 best death battles, considering how well made this is. And in regards to my final score, I will give it a 10 out of 10. This is a genuine masterpiece for Death Battle, and Death Battle, if you're listening, if you would just do more episodes like this, where you take a matchup that people are asking for but isn't something stupid, because not everyone who requests death battles are necessarily versus debaters and understand power scaling and stuff like that. If you did more matchups like this, you did more stylized animation, then I wouldn't have to be so hard on you guys. So please, more episodes like this, and maybe you wouldn't have people like me wanting to rage quit watching or reviewing your death battles. Now, watching this, it does give me a little bit of hope that maybe someday Death Battle can change. And if they do start putting out more episodes like this, maybe I could see myself continuing to review them and sing their praises, but only time will tell, because I gotta be honest, after dealing with Deadpool vs. Big Head, I don't think they're going to be changing anytime soon, but it is nice to look back at some of their better work and the potential Death Battle can have when they actually get it done right. So what did you think of Afro Samurai vs. Samurai Jack? Do you think this is one of the best death battles ever, or do you think I'm wrong and I'm just being a little too forgiving, something I never am with Death Battle, but for whatever reason you somehow think I'm wrong on this? I mean, it wouldn't be the first time someone told me, actually this Death Battle you think is really good is actually shit. But let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 4.